There is a truth that very few people know about Enzo Fernández. Before becoming the most expensive signing in English football history, Enzo almost had to give up on his dream at age 12, not because he lacked talent, but because his family couldn't afford the bus fare to the training ground. So, what took that boy from a neighborhood in Buenos Aires to the bright lights of London? To understand that, we must go back to exactly where it all began. Enzo Fernández was born on January 17, 2001, in San Martín, one of the densely populated areas of Greater Buenos Aires. His childhood was not one of extreme deprivation, but there was absolutely no abundance or luxury either. It was the typical working-class family that always had to budget every expense to make it through the month, where everything came from effort and nothing was guaranteed. Enzo's father, also named Enzo, was an amateur player who played on weekends on simple dirt pitches with goals that didn't even have nets. It was in this very modest environment that Enzo had his first football lessons. There were no flashy academies, no modern training plans, and no video tactical analysis. There was just a ball, a neighborhood lot, and a very natural instinct for the game. From a young age, Enzo showed something that youth coaches recognize quickly. He didn't play for himself. He wasn't obsessed with scoring, but was always looking for the pass that made the game easier for the whole team. That collective mindset opened the first door, leading Enzo to River Plate's youth academy. Upon joining River Plate's youth system in Núñez, Enzo began the most critical phase of forming the man and player the world would later know. But it was by no means an easy path. For boys living near the training center, pursuing football was already hard work. For Enzo, who had to travel from San Martín to Núñez every day, things were much harsher. That journey involved buses, trains, and then walking, lasting hours for both the commute there and back. He carried his gear on his shoulder and lived with the feeling that arriving late just once could mean the position he worked so hard for might vanish in a single morning. There were times when Enzo's family couldn't even afford bus fare. There were days when the whole family had to scrape by just so he could keep going to training. Those details never appear in any statistics, but they are deeply etched into Enzo's character. River Plate didn't turn him into an overnight sensation too early. They molded him bit by bit, with patience, and the slow but steady growth of someone who understands no position is given for free. By 2020, at age 19, Enzo signed his first professional contract with River Plate. The initial salary was modest, but for him, it was the moment the dream began to come true. The real turning point in Enzo's career came from a decision that few viewed as a positive sign at the time. In 2022, he was loaned by River Plate to Defensa y Justicia. In Argentine football, a loan to a smaller club is often interpreted as a sign that a big club doesn't truly see you as their future. But Enzo didn't see it that way. He saw it as an opportunity to get more playing time, to be a key figure on the pitch instead of waiting, and more importantly, to be allowed to make mistakes and learn without the immense pressure of the monumental. And it was there that Enzo displayed what he hadn't had the chance to fully show at River. He played with more freedom, more consistency, and grew visibly with every match. The numbers began to speak for him. Consistent form, leadership on the pitch, and versatility in various midfield positions made River Plate look at him in a different light. From a young player finding his footing, Enzo became a name truly worth noting. And then, from that seemingly small turning point, a much larger door opened, the door that took him to the 2022 World Cup, where his life changed forever. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar completely changed Enzo Fernández's career. When he arrived at the tournament, he was only 21 and was mostly seen as a substitute in the Argentina squad. Not many thought he would play a vital role, but when the team needed him, Enzo stepped up and proved his worth. He played with incredible composure, held the ball securely, distributed it well, and provided effective defensive support. The decisive moment came in the match against Mexico when Argentina desperately needed a win. Enzo came off the bench and scored the second goal with a beautiful strike from outside the box. That goal didn't just relieve the pressure for Argentina, it catapulted Enzo's name to a new level. When the World Cup ended, FIFA awarded him the best young player of the tournament. From an overlooked player, Enzo became one of the biggest revelations of the competition. After the 2022 World Cup, Enzo Fernández's career moved at a speed few players have ever experienced. Just months earlier, Benfica had bought him from River Plate for about 10 million euros. But by January 2023, Chelsea decided to spend 115 million euros to bring him to England. It was the most expensive transfer in English football history. From the boy who once couldn't afford bus fare to training, Enzo had become one of the most valuable players in the world. The contract with Chelsea brought him a salary of nearly €8 million per year, not including performance bonuses. Along with that came major sponsorship deals, including an agreement with Adidas worth millions of dollars annually. Just 2 years after leaving River Plate on loan, Enzo's net worth exceeded $40 million. His rise was so rapid it almost has no precedent in modern football. Upon moving to Chelsea, Enzo Fernández began his new life in London. He lives in a private residential area in the west of the city, near Chelsea's training center, with rent at approximately £20,000 per month. However, Enzo's life is quite simple. Every day he wakes up early, trains with the team, and returns home to rest. He rarely appears at entertainment events in London, instead spending time contacting his family in Argentina. This simple lifestyle and strong family ties help him maintain a balance between fame and personal life. At the center of Enzo Fernández's life has always been family. Valentina Cervantes, his partner since his teenage years, has accompanied Enzo throughout the journey from the difficult days at the River Plate Academy to stepping onto the grand stage of the World Cup and moving to Chelsea. Valentina wasn't just there when success arrived, she was by his side during the years when the family had to save every penny for bus trips to the training ground. That long-term bond became a vital anchor helping Enzo maintain balance in his life. In 2022, they welcomed their first daughter, Olivia. Since then, Enzo has shared many times that his daughter is the most important thing in his life. In many interviews, when asked about his greatest achievements, he often mentions Olivia before even the World Cup championship. For Enzo, family is not just a place to return to, but also the greatest source of motivation behind all his efforts in his career. Even though he has become one of the most expensive players in the world, Enzo Fernández still clearly remembers where he started. San Martin, the neighborhood where he grew up, still holds a very special place in his life. In recent years, Enzo has dedicated significant funds to supporting the community there. He sponsors youth football clubs, helps improve sports facilities, and provides extra equipment for local public schools. Additionally, he supports families in difficult circumstances who face challenges similar to what his own family once endured. In the last 2 years alone, Enzo's contributions to sports infrastructure and education in San Martin have exceeded 1 million pesos. Notably, he rarely speaks about these activities to the media. Enzo doesn't see it as a way to build an image, but simply a way to give back to the place that nurtured his dreams. Because he understands very well that sometimes just a small amount of help can open up an opportunity to change a child's life. Enzo Fernández's life at Chelsea hasn't only been about success. When he arrived in London, the club was going through a period of upheaval with coaching changes and inconsistent results. Enzo also had to adapt to the Premier League, a league that is faster and much more physically demanding. During that process, he experienced times when his form was inconsistent. But like the previous challenges in his career, Enzo did not give up. He continued to work hard and persevere because character is what helps a player through difficult times. Enzo Fernández's story began with a boy who once couldn't afford the bus to training, but through effort and persistence, he rose to become one of the most expensive midfielders in the world. In your opinion, can Enzo become the best midfielder in the world in the future? If you want to discover more stories behind the lives of football stars, please subscribe to the channel and like this video.